looking out this window, I forever dream I can shine a light up on everything. They say the obstacles are easy, but it never seems like. Hello, hello, hello. Dream is just a way to a beautiful light, yeah. Hello, hello, hello. Not a fly during the day, but a star by night, yeah. Hello, hello, hello. I take what I can take and I start to fly, yeah. Hello, hello, hello.
What's up, everybody? You're watching the Recovery Clinic. We're live in Little Rock, Arkansas. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Jimmy McGill. I'm a person in long-term recovery.
Hey.
Hey.
I'm Chris Dickey, another person in long-term recovery.
Yeah, but I'm cuter.
And together we bring you the Recovery Clinic.
It's true. And the Recovery Clinic is an awesome show, man. This is where we use social media to keep the recovery community connected. Social media is a big part of life in 2020. COVID-19 kind of affected the recovery community, and as Chris likes to say, you don't have to be on an island of one. So.
And as Jimmy likes to say, don't confuse social distancing with social isolation. For people in recovery, isolation is deadly a lot of times.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't turn deadly, it doesn't turn good.
Yeah, I like to say COVID-19 didn't make the dope house close down. And so recovery still got to find a way to keep that ebb and flow going. And so we use social media and we reach a lot of people. And so if you're watching, please like and follow the page. Invite your friends. Don't share the video yet because we don't want to take the live viewers away from our stream. But tag your friends in the comments. Invite your friends to come watch it with us. And we've got a great show today, Chris.
Yeah, we do. We have a special guest that is an outstanding peer support specialist. And for those of you who don't know what peer support specialists are and what they do, we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
And what, the supplement and the impact that peers are having in addiction medicine, treatment, all across where people are trying to find relief from addiction. Mm-hmm. It's amazing.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
They're in almost every setting at this point, right? Criminal justice. When I say that, I don't just mean the court systems. We've got peers in the court systems, in the police departments. The Office of the State Drug Director just initiated a new program that's brand new in the nation. There's one similar to it with a counselor in one city, okay? But Arkansas was the first period to pair a peer recovery person, right? Mm-hmm. Somebody obviously who may or may not have a criminal history. Odds of that happening are very high. With a drug overdose investigator. So you
That's wonderful.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's innovative. They're working overdoses, helping people get into treatment together. It's nice.
So that's being set up?
That's already in play.
Oh, good. Because we talked about that on the council that I serve on.
Right. So, yeah, they're already working.
Great.
Lonoke County and White County both have theirs. I know there are several other counties that have applied for it. It's really cool to see that happening. And then you've got the recovery residences, the IOP settings, you've got community centers, you've got state facilities. It's great to see recovery have such a voice at the table.
Yeah, and so one of those loud up-and-coming voices are coming from
Kyle Brewer.
Kyle Brewer. He's our guest today. We're excited to have him.
Yeah,
we wanted to wait till he comes in to the studio, if you will, so we can say one really big, it's an important day today.
Yeah.
And Kyle, you have a family that have served our country in the military. And so we want to say without, we just want to say Happy Veterans Day.
Yes.
It's a very important day for those who have and are currently serving our country in that capacity. Kyle, welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jimmy, Chris. It's an honor, and I'm very thankful to be here, and I'm thankful for all that both of you do across the state, and just glad to be here. And I echo what you said, Happy Veterans Day. My father and my grandfather are both veterans, so I'm very thankful for all the veterans that have served our country.
Yeah. What branch did they serve in, do you know?
My dad's Army and my grandfather Marine.
Oh, great. Yeah.
It's good.
One of the highlights of my life, really, especially in recovery, is I got to, as a civilian, run in the Run for the Fallen, and I got to hold Staff Sergeant Stuart Dewey, the flag that had his little marker, and you stop every mile, and you read the card, and the family's there, and it's out. I mean, it's a 199 mile race, and it ends. The last 3 miles end here at the Capitol, and I mean, it was incredibly humbling, and what an honor. I mean, I'm sobbing the whole time while I was running. It was just because you feel the weight. You feel the weight of the sacrifice that our military makes, and it was a very, very big honor. So, Veterans Day.
Yeah, we've actually got some veterans in here. I know Justin Works commenting. He served. Thanks for your service.
Yeah, thank you so much.
So if you're watching and you're in here, I'm sending hearts out right now to you because we love you and thank you.
Yes.
Chris,
Absolutely.
what's up, man?
Well, we got Kyle Brewer in the studio. We're going to talk to him about Kyle Brewer and all things Kyle Brewer.
Yeah, Brewer or Brewer?
Brewer.
Brewer. Kyle Brewer.
Like the baseball team.
Brewer.
Brewer.
Yeah. So,
Are you saying I have an Arkansas draw?
I'm saying that was Flatfoot country. That was country like turnip greens, carrots, and dirt roads.
I guess it's happening.
Do I have a country accent?
I have a truck now, and I was listening to country music the other day,
Oh.
and Tara saw me, and she's like, "What has happened to my husband?"
But Kyle,
For real,
Kyle
tell me the
said,
truth.
"Do I have a country accent?"
Do I have? Yeah, exactly.
Yes, we all do. Okay. It's called a Southern twang. it's Arkansas culture. You know, when I was little, Chris, I moved to Georgia, right? I moved to Savannah, Georgia. And Georgia is more Southern
Yeah.
than
Yeah,
Arkansas.
It's like
Well, no,
molasses.
they nicknamed me. They called me Hee-Haw. So I'm like,
You got to
11
slow it down.
Yeah, I'm 9, 10 years old, and they would call me Hee-Haw because of my Southern drawl. I did not like it. They made fun of me, and it was all the kids that called me
Well, I'm
that.
glad you're back in Arkansas to get
Yeah,
away from
yeah.
Savannah.
Yeah,
We don't need anybody hating on Jimmy.
Yeah, I came back and I made my own nickname.
There we go.
Don't even.
Made my own nickname.
What's the nickname?
No.
Don't encourage it.
Ain't not gonna
Hey,
do
so
that.
Kyle, you know, if you've experienced the same thing that I do, you know, when someone hears your story about what life was like in active addiction, they're like, no way, not happening to the guy I'm looking at right now. So what I want to ask you, first question is, talk to us about what life was like before active addiction. What kind of family did you grow up in, and what was going on?
So, I mean, I grew up in a family that alcohol, drug use runs in my family, right? With that being said, my mother set an example for me to follow. So I had every opportunity to follow her example and kind of do, you know, what kept me of what I ended up in. So life was like, you know, anybody. I like sports. I like to hang out with friends. I like to be social and all those types of things. I ended up landing in Benton, my 4th grade year, and that's where I grew up and spent most of my childhood at. And it wasn't anything really crazy, other than I was desensitized to alcohol and drug use because it was in the family, and so I saw it, and so I think it was subtly planted in my mind that that's a thing and that, you know, it's available, and so when that presented itself for me, I also chose to experiment it with.
Was it in the house, like alcohol?
Yeah, alcohol, drugs.
So when I was in high school, it wasn't in my house. So we would go at lunch breaks and go to your house basically and get into the liquor cabinet.
Yeah.
And so, did your parents ever notice all the water they started drinking? Because we would replace the line, right?
Yeah, refill it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, the first time I ever drank alcohol, my parents were having some people over. Me and my cousin, we had snuck downstairs. We grabbed the biggest cup on the counter, filled it up with all the liquor on the table.
A little bit from each one.
A little bit from each one, yeah.
Yeah, taste test.
Yeah. We went upstairs.
All of a sudden,
Suicide.
feeling funny. All of
Yeah.
a sudden, feeling funny.
Yeah.
I drank that, came right back downstairs. My family's, their parents and their friends are doing karaoke. They have a karaoke machine.
What
And
were they singing?
Let me tell you what I sang.
Drunk.
Yeah.
No, they never
This
saw
is-
Kyle
this-
in this light.
This was the dead giveaway that I was under the influence. I started singing Afro Man, and at the top of my lungs,
To your parents?
unedited.
What kind of parents did you have first?
I mean, my parents were great, but like I
Were
said,
they like?
Army. His
Yeah.
dad's in the Army, man.
You're lucky he
He about
didn't
to put him
pop
in
you.
boot
well,
camp.
my dad, mine and my dad's relationship did consist of a lot of that, you know. And he had his own battles that he dealt with, and like I said, my mom was the one that really. Everybody besides my mom and my little sister really has their own alcohol or drug, history
Yeah.
or issue at some point in time along the journey. And so, there were some expectations for me. My father, like I said, coming from a military background, and I kind of didn't process and deal with things the same way. And so we butted heads a lot, and we fought. And like I said, he's going through his own battles at the time. And so back to the story, I'm singing Afro Man, top of my lungs, and they just kind of let that ride because,
They didn't understand really what fully. They just noticed something's off.
well, they knew I was under the influence.
Okay.
It was
So you had a
pretty
friend there,
obvious.
right? Or a
Yeah.
cousin?
Cousin. He's actually my uncle, 10 months older than me, so we call each other his cousins.
So you have brothers and sisters too?
I have a little sister.
Little
I
sister.
have a little sister named Kayla, and I have 3 half sisters.
And your mom and dad were all doing karaoke. Were there other people there too?
Yeah, their friends were there. Just hanging out, doing.
And you
All of a
must have
sudden,
done
someone's
there
in the
some Afro-
spotlight that didn't mean to be in the
So,
spotlight.
Afro Man only had a couple of songs that were really, really known. So which one was it?
Because I
It
'Cause I got
wasn't.
high?
It wasn't that one, and the only one I can't sing it. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
sing.
It
it's
was
the
the
other
worst
one.
one.
It's the other. It's the other one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not.
It was
because
the
I
worst
got-
one.
It's the other
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
Yeah, and it was fully unedited, but
Oh man, that's
Yeah.
Chelsea's
did you get a
favorite song.
applause afterwards?
the
just
night, the night,
deer in headlights.
The night is a blur,
The deer in
right?
headlights.
But what I do remember about it is the next morning that my family they had came upstairs. I was obviously very sick, and they're putting M&Ms in my mouth and chocolate in my like that was kind of my punishment, right? And that was my that was my introduction to substances essentially.
Yeah. And so then, obviously it went. You didn't have you didn't spiral upwards. Talk to us a little bit about towards the end where you had wound up because
Yeah, so-
in the beginning it's fun. You're singing Afro Man. You're enjoying yourself. But talk to us. Skip forward a lot.
Yeah.
And what was it like towards the end and all of the intentions that you had for your life? Where were you?
Well, from there, I was 12 years old to 27. It progressed rapidly from alcohol to drugs to more drugs to it controlled my life. Everything that I loved and that I knew took a back seat, including sports, relationships, family, all the things that I enjoyed doing. Even if I was still doing those things, I wouldn't be doing them unless I was using or drinking while I was doing those. And so substances really took the priority in my life, and it was subtle, right? I mean, I got in trouble pretty quick, right after I started using drugs, and so that put me in the system. And when I got off probation 18 and went off to college, and I loved to party, and I took on that identity, and so I fell right in there. And then I got my wisdom tooth removed and got a prescription of opioids, and that's where, those really took a hold of me. I mean, I'd done, just about every drug up to that
You found
point.
the right cocktail.
But that was the one. That was the one that I really enjoyed, and I could do without you knowing.
Cured your alcoholism.
Yeah.
We hear a lot about doctors overprescribing, but I know many, many people who are in recovery from opioid addiction that theirs came from their dentist.
Oh yeah.
And that's, you don't really ever hear anybody talk a lot about that. Not the advocacy
I think
part.
they get lumped into doctors, but
Right,
I,
they do.
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, they do.
That you kind of there's a picture I saw. Sometimes these guys do before and afters.
Was a cow.
Oh yeah.
Hot mess.
He's got that visor, but it's like turned upside down on his head.
Yeah.
It's like,
Malibu's most wanted, boy.
yes. I was trying to think of what it was. Thank you.
Yeah, B-Rad G.
You wouldn't think.
B-Rad G, baby.
You wouldn't think that, Kyle is so put together today.
Diamond studs.
Yeah.
In the ears.
Diamond studs.
Yeah.
Were they real diamonds?
No, absolutely not.
Cubics are
I
coming.
mean, there was nothing real. In
He
my
was
life
telling
at
the
that point in
ladies.
time.
He was telling the ladies that they were real.
Yeah.
That was the sales pitch.
So how did, because I've heard Kyle's story, you've heard Kyle's story, and so, for the sake of good timekeeping, right?
Right.
Like Kyle ends up in this drug-induced psychosis, right? It's terrible. Like he thinks people have, planted a death disease in you?
Yeah, I was under the impression.
And that was from opioids?
Well,
or were you getting
so
into some meth?
I had, we're skipping,
minute.
we're skipping way
Okay,
ahead.
okay.
I progressed from the pain pills to being on heroin because now, I don't have the money.
Right.
And so I'm trying to get off of heroin, and my detox is to use meth to do so. And so while doing that, for about a week straight, I'm in a psychosis, and I think the police are after me for a double homicide. And
That you didn't commit.
I committed it somehow, but
Oh, man.
it was because I was overhearing a background check that had been done from a family of a girl that was there to rescue me, and that I also had contracted AIDS somewhere along this path, because that was also some information that was given from the background check.
Man, our minds can
Yeah.
really do a number on it.
So okay, just
I know.
So you're loaded, right? You've been using that brown boy heroin, right?
On the run.
On the run. You're homeless.
With a late stage illness that is, he's about 2 weeks left to live.
And you overheard a conversation, and in your mind, you completely created a fantasy that you had killed 2 people and had HIV.
Yeah, and I look at it now and I say,
And none of that's true.
fantasy.
You do
But
not have
in
HIV
the
and you
moment,
haven't killed anybody.
That was my reality, and you couldn't tell me any differently.
And you believed it.
I believed it, and still to this day.
What year was that?
That was in 2017.
Okay.
And that narrative, there's so many more details to it.
Sure.
I remember it like it was yesterday. It's
No,
wild.
I mean, so early in recovery, sometimes stay off of WebMD, okay? Don't get your diagnosis from WebMD. You're going to have late-stage cancer on everything. I had this little white line on my tongue.
Yeah.
And so I went in there.
Googled it.
I'm
You had breast cancer.
sending out letters like, hey, I loved you.
It's over.
Mom, I love you so much. Thank you for
I
being
want
there
a brown
for
casket.
me. Yeah. But that was my reality. I mean,
Yeah.
you wouldn't have convinced me.
Chris was making his arrangements.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So,
how do you end up from that to this, though?
well, you get into recovery.
Yeah, I mean, and that's
You
what
had a
happened. One of those family members that had their own issues in the past got into recovery previous years before this, my Uncle David, and he saw this psychosis I was going through as an opportunity. He picked me up, dropped me off at a homeless shelter that also had a recovery program. They called an ambulance, picked me up, take me to the hospital, detox, went back to that program, and I joined the Nehemiah House, a 9-month faith-based program. And nothing happened overnight. But somewhere along the way, I started getting hope by looking at 2 of the guys, the directors there, Jamie and BJ, that they were living a life of recovery, and they had
Yeah.
both been through that program. And so, one day at a time and one step at a time, I started getting hope and learning how to live a life of recovery.
That's awesome.
No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. And that's what I love about the miracle of recovery and the gift that we get today. Because, your story isn't one, he wasn't going to be telling his story past a certain age.
Right.
I mean, he was in the ground.
Right.
That's where that was going.
Right.
And all of a sudden, you get plucked out of that, put into my house, and now fast forward, you were attracted to becoming a peer support specialist, going through the training, and he's one of the first peers, if not the first peer, in a hospital setting.
He was in Arkansas.
In the emergency department, the first peer
The
support
first
specialist
person in
station.
Arkansas.
Yeah, Kyle was.
Yeah.
He was the first recovering
So-
specialist. Tell us about it.
But I want to say this first, like our viewers are kind of probably still processing the psychosis that he was in, right?
Yeah.
So they're
Yeah.
like, oh my goodness. I mean, but I do the same thing. It boggles my mind when you take, you're sitting in there in Nehemiah House, and all of a sudden God's using you to bring a message of hope that wasn't previously there. You had to create this position. It wasn't there. You're the first person in Arkansas, and you were chosen to do that.
Yeah, and like you said, it's a gift. It's something that I get to do today, and I never would have guessed in any length of time that I would be doing anything like this. But from that pain and that darkness, came purpose and came passion, and I get to take that and I get to use it to help other people. And so I saw peer recovery. I'd met Jimmy, and I'd seen like the direction. I looked at my past and how I'd put all kinds of time, money, resources into my addiction, and I said, recovery and my faith in God, let's do the same thing. Let's put that same time, money, resources, energy into something like this. And so I was like, I'm all in. Like, let's do, like, this is my life, and I want to take ownership in it. I want to make it like who I am, because it is who I am. And so I'd heard about peer recovery and kind of sensed that, like, hey, this is the direction, and this is effective and this is meaningful, and like I want to be a part of it. And I remember meeting Jimmy at church, him and his wife, and talking to them about it, and not at any length, but just a general introduction. And then from there, I put in my application for the core training with no intention of it ever becoming a job. Just I want to be a part of this.
Yeah, I want to learn
more. But God knew, God knew what was going to happen, and I did the training. 3 months later, I had a friend send me this job opportunity. Like, hey, this looks like something to be perfect for you. And I remember just grabbing my laptop really nonchalantly and throwing a resume together. Like, I didn't know what was happening, but I was just taking steps without even realizing what I was doing.
Some of the best things in my life have come in the form of suggestions from others, and I have just kind of blindly fallen into it.
Yeah.
Just because,
Let me be a CEO.
Yeah. So, what is a peer support specialist, and how did that look with implementation in the hospital? Because it didn't previously. So tell our viewers what is a peer support specialist first, and then why that's important in a hospital setting.
Okay, well, a peer support specialist is essentially someone that has lived experience with substance use, and one of the qualifications for Arkansas is to have 2 years or longer in long-term recovery. That's what sets it apart from any other position, and it's non-clinical. So it's not a counselor, social worker, doctor, any of those types of roles. And it's someone that takes that lived experience and then uses it to walk with other people currently going through the same process. That's it in a nutshell. And it's really just taking the things that you've been through and giving them purpose. And the reason it's so effective in a hospital setting is what I believe is that when you're in a hospital, when you're in the emergency department, it's not the best day. It's a crisis moment. It's an emergency. And those are the times that you're most open to new information or trying something different. I don't care about the motive. I didn't start this process because I wanted to get cleaner. I thought I had a problem. I started this process that I'm in today because I was homeless and I didn't have anywhere else to go. And so in those crisis moments, whatever the motivation behind it, people are open to do something.
They're reachable.
They're reachable, and they're open-minded. And if you can put someone that's been where they've been and that can talk in a language that relates to them and they can identify with, a couple things happen. They find hope that this can happen in their life, and they also trust that person to walk the journey alongside them. And so, in the hospital setting, you basically, hey, this is the moment I want to do something. What does that look like for you? Do you want to get connected to resources? Do you want to learn about different recovery meetings? Do you want to go to treatment? What do you want to do? And so I kind of just figure out what it is that the individual wants to do at that point in time, and then move in that direction with them.
But talk to us a little bit about, Jimmy in the state worked really hard just to get them to be open to it, right?
Yeah.
And so there's some apprehension, like what is this guy going to do in our ER? So you have doctors, nurses, and other medical staff there. It wasn't easy at the beginning, right?
No, and I do have to say, like you mentioned, the state and the hospital both did tremendous amounts of work before I ever appeared on the scene. So that position existing, a lot of things have been done that are way outside of anything that I could ever do. And so it takes buy-in from the institution and organization to believe in it, and it takes the work that protocols and processes have to be established. And then more than anything, when I first started, it's a new role in a system that's been established. And so you insert something new, there's going to be a learning curve and some challenges or maybe even obstacles along the way. But I found that the doctors, the nurses, the social workers, the entire care management team at UAMS were open to this, and that they welcomed me onto the team. That I'm a resource for not just the individuals that I'm working with, but the hospital. Like, I'm a part of that team where if they're working with somebody, they recognize that, hey, let's get Kyle to work with this person.
They had him on speed dial after a while, you know?
Yeah. So I'm curious, Kyle, like, how long have you worked at the hospital?
I've been there a little over a year. I started last October.
Okay, so a little over a year. How many people would you say that you've worked with substance use issues who were admitted into that hospital in that little over a year?
So I have approximately 600 people that, you know, we've been able to work with. Out of that 600 people that specifically had drug and alcohol related issues or were interested in that type of stuff, I would say it's around 60% of that. And then from that percentage, about 100 to 125 went directly from hospital to treatment as a result of working with a peer support specialist.
I mean, yeah, I know that. I know that for certain. we've been a part of that.
That's an incredible number. So 60% of 600 were willing to receive services from you.
Yeah.
So when I woke up or came to in the ER, I was in the ICU. They had I coded, and the trauma team had to save my life. And when I came to, the nursing staff, the medical team, the doctors were all trying to get me to say what I had been taking, and I just couldn't tell them. I thought I was going to get in trouble. I had shame. It was at the hospital my mom worked at, which had another layer of embarrassment. Had there been a peer, because that is exactly those moments of where you would come in and kind of get on the same page with me and be like, hey man, I've been there. I would have told you what I took. I wasn't going to tell what I thought was an authority figure out to get me.
Yeah.
But you come in and allow me to be open so those guys can do their job.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here dying, and I'm still holding on to that secret.
Yeah, and it doesn't even have to be an authoritative figure, right? Like, you're a doctor or a staff member or a charge nurse, and I'm going to use a word I normally don't like to say, right? Like, I'm the addict, laying in a hospital bed, mad because I'm alive. I couldn't even successfully die.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm looking at you. You're a doctor. You're prominent. You're put together. You're a person of achievement and success. What do you know about me and my lifestyle? I'm in the gutter thinking people are trying to kill me, thinking I've got HIV. I'm not fixing to talk to you because I'm afraid you're going to be condescending and judgmental.
Exactly.
You know? So now you add that in, plus if you're a person of authority, so I don't really have anybody to talk to in the hospital. And then here comes Kyle.
Yep.
And he's polished, but the stuff he says sounds like the stuff that's in my
I'm going to
head.
relate to it.
Yeah, I can relate.
Yeah, and
No, if this guy comes in looking like he does, saying, "Hey, I get it. I had AIDS. And I was up for a double homicide."
He's crazier than me. This is a cuckoo bird.
I'll tell you anything. What do you want to know?
It's really.
I know this isn't going to leave anywhere.
It's really a gift to be in someone's life in that moment, right? And you know, as a peer support specialist in the emergency department or hospital setting, you act as a bridge between a couple different situations, a bridge between the individual and the staff, because like you're talking about, there's a little bit of disconnect there, because usually I've not had good experiences in a hospital setting, and from the staff's perspective, I've learned this, that their face of substance use is usually not the good one, right? It's because over and over again you see the negative, you know, side of things, and not usually you don't hear the success story down the road. Like, whoever took care of me 3.5 years ago, you know, it's not like they're hearing that, like, hey, you made a difference in my life that day, because that day they were tackling and restraining me, you know?
Right.
And that's the side that you see. And so
Malibu's most wanted.
yeah.
That's good, man.
And then you act as a bridge between the hospital and then this recovery community as a whole.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Want to interrupt for a second. Monica, I want to speak directly to you for a second. You said you need to contact the Center for My Son. Please message us some contact information, and we will get with you to find out what's going on. We want to help you in any way we can.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you know, the things that just in the short time that you've been able to be a part of and do, your life's just getting started.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. I mean, that's this. I'm so glad that I know you. I'm so glad to be a part of your life, and you know, hand stepping down the road in this recovery community.
Yeah.
And
Got to say thank you. Got to say thank you for your service, man. Thank you for taking your past and turning it into a purpose, and for being willing to step out on the front lines of it. You know.
yeah.
So I mean, in closing, right? Like, is there what one thing would you leave the viewers with?
I'll leave the viewers with, you know, wherever you're at on your recovery journey, if you've been in it for a while, or if you're just getting started, or if you're still in the middle of active addiction, that this is
There you go.
This is a gift. At the beginning of this, all I could focus on was drugs and alcohol being taken away from my life. But what I've learned over the last 3.5 years is recovery's given me so much more than I could have ever asked for, and that having this is having the disease of addiction is by no way a burden or a hindrance or a negative thing in my life, and that it's actually my greatest asset, and it's turned into the biggest blessing, because it's not that I can't drink or use drugs. I don't have to. And that's a gift. That truly is a gift that God's given me, and He's given it to each one of us. And echo what Jimmy said, that thank you all for what you do and for being a part of my life, and for all the viewers out there that are doing the same thing. I'm grateful to be a part of it.
Right.
Keep doing what you do, man. Hey, if you want to hang out with Kyle, he's auctioning off some of his time so you guys can go golf right before the...
Absolutely.
I don't know.
Let's do it.
Thank you so much. We want to welcome our provider spotlight. It's that time of the day and the week and the month.
Yes.
We've got Brian Davis. Can you hear us, Brian?
I can.
Welcome to the show, the Recovery Clinic.
Thank you.
We're so glad that you were able to come on today. We want to talk about Ariza Health and what you are doing currently. I mean, you're making some big impacts over there in that part of the state.
We're hoping to. I'll tell you a little bit about us and what we're up to. But was it Kyle? Is that correct?
Yes.
That's here with you?
Yes.
I'm charged up and ready to go now after hearing that speech. So thank you for sharing your story and doing what you're doing for our community. So Arisa Health is a new nonprofit organization we formed here in Arkansas March 1st. We did not plan to come together a week before the pandemic hit, but those were the cards that we were dealt, and so just like the rest of the world have been kind of adjusting since then. But Arisa brought together 4 of Arkansas's nonprofit community mental health centers. So that includes Mid-South Health Systems out of Jonesboro. That includes Professional Counseling Associates that is officed in North Little Rock. Counseling Associates out of Conway, which is where I'm at. And Ozark Guidance Center out of Springdale. And the 4 community mental health centers came together to affiliate under a new umbrella, or created a new organization called Arisa Health. So the 4 community mental health centers still exist as separate legal entities to provide, to deliver to the state our community mental health center contract. But in all other ways, we're really trying to work together as one so that we can stretch our resources further to better serve the people that need our help. The footprint for Arisa is 41 counties, kind of the northern half of the state, when you combine the 4 organizations together. So we have 78 locations across those 41 counties. We serve about 60,000 people last year, all told, for both mental health and substance use issues. And that includes, of course, our outpatient clinics. We serve children, adolescents, adults, but also we have two of the state's 4 crisis stabilization units are in the ERISA umbrella. We have the crisis unit in Jonesboro and the one in Springdale. And then, of course, a big move for us. We're all accredited by CARF and our behavioral health agencies with DHS. But in the last couple of years have really tried to, I would say, catch up really with being behind in meeting the needs of those that come to us with substance use issues. And so we're doing that in a few different ways. We're doing that through our outpatient clinics, where we're now in most of all of our outpatient clinics in those 41 counties. People can come to us for predominantly or exclusively substance use needs. Of course, we know what the research says, that a lot of people have co-occurring mental health issues, so we can treat co-occurring issues, but now we can provide treatment, outpatient treatment, exclusively for substance use disorders.
That's great.
That
So
includes
is your specialty is mental health? That's what.
we are all mental health centers,
Great.
community mental health centers.
And 41 out of the 75 counties, not bad. That's pretty good coverage.
Yeah.
And so tell me, if someone is seeking relief, how do they go about finding ERISA? How do
Sure.
they get in contact and get into your program?
Sure, they can go to erisahealth.org, and that will tell them, it's kind of a landing page, but then that will link them back to one of those 4 community mental health centers: Mid-South, Counseling Associates, PCA, or Ozark.
Oh, so that's based on where they live, yeah?
It's based on where they live, and
Okay.
all of our locations in those 41 counties are included on there with local phone numbers. We do have a 24/7 line across all of the state that's on all of those websites. We're doing medication assisted treatment in all of those outpatient clinics now, so we're excited about that. And then we have 2 residential programs for substance use disorders now. One is our Delta Recovery Center in Forest City that has been operated by Mid-South. And then we are targeting next week.
That's a big announcement right here.
Yeah,
Drum roll.
this is it. The ERISA Health Recovery at Mills. We are targeting to be opened next week. Wednesday the 18th is our target date. That is the old Wilbur D. Mills facility that ERISA purchased, and we have onboarded about 20 new employees that are in their second week of orientation and training now. We're doing lots of renovations to the building at Wilbur D. Mills in Searcy, and are hoping to have all those done. We're actually taking referrals now through our Delta Recovery Center, creating a wait list so that we can hopefully get those folks that are better suited for Wilbur Mills. It'll be a 46-bed facility. We're going to open with 24. There'll be 16 male beds and 8 female beds to begin with, but we hope to be up to 46 ASAP.
Yeah, I mean, Jimmy and I are glad, and Kyle's happy to hear. I mean, the ERISA and what you've done since March in creating this umbrella with the 4 organizations is an announcement in itself. But we're really excited that you have been able to secure that campus in Searcy, because the first time it shut down, it just left a huge gap, and then the second time it shut down,
A huge gap.
a huge gap. So we're excited that you get to bring that back to its prominence.
Absolutely. And really, Mills is a perfect example of why we came together to create ERISA. Probably any one of our 4 organizations alone, that would have been too big of too big of a bite to chew.
Yeah, good point.
With all of us coming together, we were able to pull that off, and we're really excited. We're partnering with the Whole Health Foundation, so that we're hoping to do some pretty cool and innovative things at meals that are really targeting people's, not just their addictions issues, their mental health needs, but their physical health care needs, their spiritual needs, their nutrition, the kind of the whole health approach. We're going to use meals as kind of our pilot project for that program.
Well, thank you so much for spending some time with us and helping us spotlight Arissa Health and what's going on in your organization. Is there anything you'd like to close? Than me, and I'm going to say 100% yes with that bald head.
Yeah.
You don't want to see me with a shaved head.
Yeah, your head's funny shaped.
It is. I had to do that one time. My mom tried to cut my hair right before we're leaving Texas and going to Oregon.
Yeah.
And she cut my hair. It was my first resentment.
Yeah.
I had to go in there and get a shaved head in middle school, joining a new school.
Yeah.
Man, it was bad stuff.
That's bad business.
Anyway,
Well, that's it. What do we got for next week's show?
we got a really great show planned.
What is next week? What's the
It's
date?
one of the best shows ever.
What
I
is
have to
it?
go to the calendar. You keep pushing me.
What is it?
Take
What
a hit,
is it?
Jimmy.
What is it?
Hey.
Is it a guest?
Yeah, we have a guest. What's the date?
I think it's Mark. Is it
We have Mark Hayes. Oh, that's going to be a powerful story. I can't wait to have him. He's going to be in the house, and he has lost a son to an overdose, and he leads one of the biggest organizations in our state.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk to him about how him and his
think-
family are dealing with that,
Dealing
working
with
through
that.
it, and
I think we've got powerful guests coming all the way up in the next few months. I know we've got Bonnie Stribling, we've got the Attorney General, we've got the Lieutenant Governor, we've got Mark Hayes.
yeah,
It's going to be an interesting month.
we've got each other.
We got Jimmy and Chris.
We
I'm
love you
Peter.
guys. Thank you so
See
much.
you next Wednesday at 11.